Hey everyone, my name's Walter and I'm back here with something I haven't covered in a while. Look at this, Kiwi Farms is back up, so I was able to find a few things, including Russell Greer's novel. Russell is a man mostly known for suing celebrities who won't date him. This includes people like Ariana Grande, Farrah Abraham, and of course Taylor Swift, the reason we're here today. This is part 4 and I'll link to the first one in the description. But Russell is still trying to establish why Taylor Swift owes him her time and consideration. Maybe we'll get past the prologue and into the story this time. Stranger things have happened. Let's just get started with Russell Greer's book, Why I Sued Taylor Swift, Part 4. He ended last time by puzzlingly bringing up the Federal Trade Commission. Guess we'll finally find out why. The Federal Trade Commission, abbreviated FTC, was established in 1914 by President Woodrow Wilson. The FTC's sole purpose is to protect the little guys like you and me. Since the 1930s and earlier, the FTC has been cracking down on misrepresentations. A lot of these misrepresentations had to do with celebrities and public figures misrepresenting products they advertised and endorsed. For instance, in 1978, the FTC went after 1950s singer Pat Boone after he negligently endorsed acne medication, saying that his daughters used it, when in fact they did not use the product. The FTC slammed Mr. Boone and said that he did not make a reasonable inquiry into the truthfulness of his statements or of the product that he endorsed. In April 2017, the Federal Trade Commission sent out letters to 47 different celebrities, warning them about their use of their social media profiles containing potentially misleading representations. No, Taylor Swift was not on the list, but some of the celebrities included Sean Combs, Luke Bryan, Heidi Klum, and 44 other big to small name celebrities. If anything, this is the knockout punch that shows celebrities can be held liable for their misrepresentations. This FTC precedent can extend from the endorsement of products to celebrities' publicity stunts. Russell might have a point if Taylor Swift was like shilling crypto or something. This doesn't actually make it make any more sense, considering she didn't do anything to him, aside from inspiring him to make a shitty song. Or pay to have one made at least. Unfortunately, only the FTC can bring lawsuits against celebrity endorsers for their misrepresentation of products under the Fair Trade Commission Act, or US Code whatever, as the legislation does not allow private causes of action. But these arguments and cases do form persuasive authority against celebrities for one to sue in a regular court of law, under a negligence cause of action. As was seen in a few of the FTC cases, the FTC berated the celebrity endorsers for failing to provide disclosures and disclaimers with their social media posts and the products that they advertised. A person that felt wrong and misguided by a celebrity for their misrepresentation, like moi, could easily cite these cases as persuasive authority. While they couldn't argue anything under the FTC laws to find the celebrity liable, they could argue that the celebrity, or in my case Taylor Swift, failed to provide adequate disclaimers that her publicity stunts did not create invitations to encourage others to invest time and money into impressing her, because how was I supposed to know without any warnings? Blame the whole celebrity worship disorder thing. And if you're wondering, no, I did not have a shrine of Taylor Swift. I did have a trophy room of her though. I'm kidding! A duty to warn, a failure to warn, however you want to word it, is indeed a cause of action that many people sue under in the courtroom for many different things. Since we are comparing a celebrity's right to publicity as a piece of property, one could easily cite property law. As is common knowledge, property owners can be held liable if they fail to warn a potential hazard on their property. That's why many homes have different signs that say, "Beware of dog," 24-hour surveillance, alligators and snakes in area, no lifeguard on duty for homes with pools. The same kind of risks and harms could befall a follower of a celebrity relying on said celebrity's intellectual property. Like this book's author relied on Swift in her image. Do people really put up a no lifeguard on duty sign in their private pool? I failed to see how that'd change anything if someone actually snuck in and drowned. It's amazing how he's like, oh, Taylor Swift has been nice to fans before, so she should just be forced to do it every time. Like she's not even a person. As I explained earlier, there are many sociological and mental effects that celebrity influences can have on a person, so that would be another reason for a celebrity to be urged to warn of any dangers her influence and her stunts may have on a person. In the psychological and psychiatry community, psychologists have a duty to warn the police and others that their patient is going to harm himself or others. A California Supreme Court case highlighted the importance of the duty that counselors have to protect society, with Justice Matthew O. Tobriner writing, "We conclude that the public policy favoring protection of the confidential character of patient-psychotherapist communications must yield to the extent to which disclosure is essential to avert danger to others. The protective privilege ends where the public peril begins. In comparison, while Taylor Swift and other celebrities may enjoy the right of being able to sway and create publicity stunts, that privilege must be checked with a balance of a disclaimer to protect the public from potential peril stemming from celebrity influence. Said perils could include suicides stemming from disappointment or mass hysteria, as seen with Orson Welles and the War of the Worlds radio broadcast. To be fair, Welles did give a disclaimer at the beginning of his broadcast, but it apparently wasn't enough. Go see the video of the girl crying over Justin Bieber if you don't believe that celebrities have mental effects on the public. God damn, the formatting of this is so bad. I thought about fixing it myself for the video, but then I figured it better illustrates the competence of the author if I just let you see what it actually looks like. It's not an uncommon thing for the entertainment industry to have disclosures. At the end of movies that have animals doing stunts, there are usually disclaimers saying no animals were harmed during the production of this movie. And those disclaimers have a PETA stamp of approval to validate their authenticity. Man, anyone who works with PETA can go fuck themselves. Just saying. This is the movie's way of avoiding animal cruelty lawsuits. In other instances, disclaimers will be at the end of movies, denying that the events were based on any real people or situations. This is commonly known as an all-persons fictitious disclaimer, which was actually created in response to a libel lawsuit from 1932. See, this is where Russ's book really shines. It's kind of educational. It is very weird that Russell is citing sources in his book. Didn't I call it a novel in the opening? Well, I think it's actually supposed to be non-fiction somehow. You'll see how crazy that is eventually. Such a disclaimer is the production company's form of due diligence to show that they have taken all precautions possible to avoid libel. So it's not far-fetched for celebrities to have disclaimers and disclosures with their publicity stunts. In fact, with everything explained in this chapter, Taylor Swift and other celebrities would be wise to have them, in the form of the "not all buyers will qualify" disclaimers. Yet Taylor Swift went to a prom with someone, therefore she should have to go with everyone. Otherwise they might harass her family and write 2 cringy songs about her. Absolute madness. Lastly, people often scoff and argue that one, Taylor Swift, must be in a contract with another to be found liable for any damage she inflicts on another, or that the damage must be direct physical damage, like an assault or a car wreck. Not true. The law is no stranger to harm suffered by third persons. In fact, since 1789, courts have held that those who make misrepresentations can be held liable for the damages inflicted on third persons, as was illustrated in an English case of a man being found liable for deceit because of his misrepresentations influenced a person he never meant to influence. Negligent statements published and carried in the media have found misrepresenters liable when they influence a class or group of people. Fans and followers of Taylor Swift would constitute as a group of people, as she is directly influencing them. They follow Swift's words, moves, and actions. A Metallica fan would probably not be a fan of Taylor Swift, so Swift's disclosures would not need to apply to him or her. Metallica must be Russell's best choice for hard rock. Taylor Swift has some bangers. I don't know if this is true for everyone, Russ. One court case that particularly reinforces this chapter was a case that came out of California in the 1960s. A woman was reading through a catalog magazine and saw a stamp of approval for a certain pair of shoes. When the lady bought the shoes, though, they were actually defective and she fell and hurt herself. The court ruled that because the publisher had independently placed its stamp of approval on the shoes, it showed that it had a chance to discover the truth of whether the shoes were defective or not. The court also held that because the stamp was meant to attract customers, the magazine should have known that customers would rely on the representation, writing, "Hearst placed itself in the position where public policy imposes upon it the duty to use ordinary care in the issuance of its seal, so that members of the consuming public who rely on its endorsement are not unreasonably exposed to the risk of harm." Further, the court held that no privity of contract was required, based on the position of trust and influence the publication had on the public. This case has been cited in many different courts, in many different jurisdictions, involving many different situations. dozens, if not hundreds, of other cases have been ruled on throughout the years since this case, and they have all come to the same conclusion. Persons or companies or products who give misrepresentations to third persons, even if they are not in a contract with those persons, and who are in influential positions, can be held liable for their misrepresentations. Oh look, here is a post he made around this time. I'm sure you all have seen this disclaimer at the end of movies. It has nothing to do with the movie itself either, per se. It's just saying that the movie isn't based on real people. They'll have other disclaimers regarding animals not being harmed during production, etc. So it baffles me that Taylor Swift, with international fame and a $200 million net worth, would not put disclaimers with her publicity stunts that could mislead people. I got this. It's like he doesn't see the difference between a large company being sued when they just made a bunch of money and a person. Taylor Swift is rich, but she's not a large corporation. In comparison to the Hanbury case and the other cases that followed it, Taylor Swift is in a position where public policy, society's expectations, dictates she uses careful judgment and disclaimers with her publicity stunts and statements. After all, she is, in a way, placing her stamp of approval on the publicity stunts and social causes and wedding crashes she partakes in. It's not like she's unaware of what she's doing. Taylor isn't clueless to the fact that she's loved and adored by millions. She knows she's sought after. The liability is on her hands for any misrepresentations that she gives that leads to harm. Some say don't sweat the small stuff. Well, when a celebrity has the power to cause a person to invest thousands of dollars into impressing him or her because of their being a celebrity, said celebrity should definitely sweat the small stuff. I realize that there is much more to a lawsuit than I have explained, so this chapter was just a cursory glance at celebrity liability for their misrepresentations. I only touched the tip of the iceberg, if you will, to demonstrate how Taylor Swift could be held liable if I were to sue her again in federal court, which I almost did. But the takeaway from this chapter is celebs, be less careless and more cautious with your publicity stunts. You have no idea how much you influence the public. Alright, so that is the prologue. I have to start the actual book now, so let's cover at least a little of it. Chapter 2. Russell Greer, the man, the myth, the legend. Who's Russell Greer, the heavy-set jail warden for the Uinta County jail system asked aloud, studying a clipboard that contained all of my documentation. That man over there, an assistant jailer stated, pointing at me. The warden came over and studied me. 18 years old, dressed in orange jail clothes, restrained in handcuffs that connected to a belly chain and a newly charged inmate. You're a little young to be facing a felony, the warden sternly said as he studied me. What a sight I must have been to that warden. A prisoner with a facial paralysis. I could barely speak because I was so afraid. I nodded my head. He gave me a long, hard examination and then turned away. The warden and the assistant continued talking about my alleged crime, and I say alleged because it was anything but a crime. My crime was a high school senior prank that went terribly wrong. My brain had gone on stupid mode when I did the prank that would lead to my eventual arrest. I shuddered as flashbacks of me committing the prank ran through my mind. Like a track stuck on repeat, the warden's question continued to echo inside my head and caused me to reflect on my life. Who is Russell Greer? Just weeks before, I had been on the student council and the National Honor Society. I was a senior at Evanston, Wyoming High School. Though I was a nice guy, my school years had been plagued with misunderstandings and other struggles experienced by a young man with a facial disability termed Mobius syndrome. For the sake of addressing and clearing the elephant from the room, my disability, which is a disability as defined by the Americans with Disabilities Act, as it hinders 2 or more life functions, isn't the result of having large teeth or having something wrong with my lips or jaw. Contrary to the common assumption, my disability also isn't the result of a car crash or some other accident, though that would make explaining my disability a lot more interesting. I like to think of how cool it would be to be a war veteran, and explain, the reason I look funny is because I was carrying 20 guys on my shoulder over in Iraq, and then a fly landed on my nose, which caused me to sneeze. Naturally, with 20 wounded guys slumped over me, I lost my balance and fell face first on a landmine. Who needs a purple heart? I got the deformity to show it. You know, as someone who had a friend die in Iraq, I really appreciate this joke, Russell. Now, if you're wondering why he's spending so much time on this in the opening paragraphs, It's because it's the entire book. He's going to do nothing but accuse people of slighting him because he's disabled. Anyway, I'm gonna have to call it a day for now. I think I'll be back very soon because this next part is actually really interesting. It's about this senior prank that he keeps mentioning. Supposedly, he wrote a hit list on the bathroom wall of mostly girls who had rejected him, but I suppose that's not how the story's going to go in his own book. But that is about all the time I have for you today. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you liked the video, please give it a like. If you have something to say, make sure you let me hear it in the comments, especially if you know something about law. I mean, I have questions. Is it normal to go this far back to find precedents every time like Russell does? And won't the judge notice if he's trying to use technicalities to circumvent the law and just not let him? Ugh. Well anyway, if you're new here, consider subscribing for more of the same. Also, Reddit content, and we'll be seeing our good friend Lucas Werner in the near future. Big thanks also to my awesome patrons. They help me more directly over on Patreon. It's very much appreciated. Yeah, I'll be back very soon, even with more of this. Have a great day, everyone, and make sure your publicity stunts don't piss off the Federal Trade Commission.